Fire has always been a precious gift to people. Long before modern times, before electricity or gas stoves, fire warmed homes, cooked food, and kept the darkness away. But making fire was not easy. This is the story of how matches came to be, how they began, who invented them, and how they changed the world. It is a simple history, told slowly and clearly, from the earliest days of fire-making to the matches we know today. Thousands of years ago, in a time when people lived in caves or simple shelters, fire was a treasure. To make it, they used tools that were hard to master. The earliest way to create fire was with flint, a hard gray stone found in many places. When struck against another stone or a piece of iron, flint could produce a tiny spark. These sparks were small, like flecks of starlight, and they needed to land on something dry and fluffy, called tinder, often dried moss, grass, or bark. If the tinder was just right, the spark might catch, and with gentle blowing, it could grow into a flame. This was the work of patience. People sat for hours, striking stones, gathering tinder, and hoping for fire. The world was cold and dark, and those sparks were a small miracle, bringing warmth to families gathered around a hearth. Imagine a winter evening, long ago, with snow falling outside a cave. A family huddles close, their breath visible in the chilly air. One person, maybe a mother or an elder, holds a piece of flint and strikes it carefully against a rough stone. The sound, click, click, echoes softly. A spark flies but fades. They try again and again, until at last a spark lands on a nest of dry moss. A tiny glow appears, and they blow gently, coaxing it into a flame. That flame lights a pile of sticks, and soon the cave is warm, the darkness pushed back. This was how fire was made for thousands of years, across forests and plains, in every corner of the world where people lived. It was slow, it was hard, but it was life. As time passed, people learned more about the world. They built villages, sailed rivers, and traded goods. In a land called China, around the year 577, something new happened. There were people called alchemists who studied the secrets of nature. They mixed powders and chemicals, curious about what they could do. One day, they combined sulfur, a yellow, smelly substance, with charcoal and a salt called saltpeter, also known as potassium nitrate. They found that this mixture could catch fire easily. They took small sticks, often made of pine, and dipped them into this mixture. When the sticks touched an existing flame, they'd burst into fire quickly, without needing sparks or tinder. These were called fire-inch sticks, an early kind of match. Picture a busy marketplace in ancient China, with merchants selling silk, spices, and pottery. Under a shady tree, an alchemist holds a small stick coated with his special mixture. He touches it to a glowing coal, and whoosh, a flame leaps up. The people nearby gasp, amazed at how fast and easy it is. These fire-inch sticks were not like the matches we know today. They needed an existing fire to work, and they burned quickly, sometimes too quickly. They also gave off a strong smell, like rotten eggs, because of the sulfur. But they were a step forward. For the first time, people could carry fire on a stick, ready to light a lamp or a stove with less effort. These early matches did not spread widely, but they showed what was possible, like a seed planted in the earth, waiting to grow. Hundreds of years passed, and the world changed again. Cities grew and new ideas filled the air. In 1826, in a small town called Stockton-on-Tees in England, a man named John Walker made a discovery that changed fire-making forever. John was a chemist, someone who worked with chemicals in a little shop called a pharmacy. He sold medicines and mixed powders for his customers. One day, while stirring a mixture of sulfur, gum, and a chemical called antimony sulfide, he noticed something strange. He scraped his wooden stirring stick on the stone hearth of his fireplace, and whoosh, a flame appeared. The chemicals on the stick had caught fire just from the friction of scraping. John Walker was surprised but excited. He began to experiment, coating small wooden sticks with his mixture. He found that when he rubbed these sticks on a rough surface, like sandpaper or a stone, they lit up with a flame. These were the first true friction matches, the kind that could make fire without needing another flame nearby. He called them friction lights, and they were a wonder. People came to his shop, curious about this new invention. They bought small boxes of these matches, each one a slender stick with a blob of chemicals at the tip. With a quick scrape, they could light a candle, a fireplace, or a lamp. It was so much easier than striking flint or carrying a burning coal. John Walker was a modest man. He did not think much of his invention. He did not even put his name on the boxes he sold. He thought it was a curious chemical trick. And that might have been the end of the story, but word of John's matches spread, and other people saw how important they were.
Imagine a quiet evening in a small English village. A farmer comes home after a long day, his hands cold from the autumn air. He takes out one of John Walker's friction lights, strikes it on a piece of rough paper, and watches a flame bloom. He lights his lantern, and the soft glow fills the room. His children gather around, watching the light dance. This was the magic of friction matches. They brought fire to anyone, anywhere, with just a simple motion. But these matches had problems. They smelled bad, like sulfur, and they were not always safe. Sometimes they caught fire too easily, even in a pocket or a box. Sparks could fly and accidents happened. Still, John Walker's friction lights spread across England and beyond, lighting homes and workshops, making life a little brighter. The world loved matches, but people wanted them to be safer. In the 1840s, in Sweden, two men worked to make this happen. The first was Gustav Erik Pasch, a chemist who thought carefully about the problem. He realized that the chemicals on friction matches were too wild, catching fire too easily. He had an idea: split the chemicals. He put some of the chemicals, like red phosphorus, on a special strip of paper or wood, and others, like potassium chlorate, on the match head. This way, the match would only light when rubbed on that special strip, not on just any surface. This was the beginning of the safety match, a match that was calm and reliable. Another man, Johann Edvard Lundström, took Pasch's idea and made it even better. He improved the recipe and the design, creating safety matches that were easy to make and use. By the 1850s, these safety matches were being made in factories in Sweden. They were packed into neat little boxes with a red striking strip on the side. People loved them because they were safe. No more accidental fires in pockets or bags. They also smelled less, which made them pleasant to use. Imagine a busy street core with gas lamps glowing in the evening. A lamplighter carries a box of safety matches, striking one to light each lamp. The flame is steady, the light soft, and the city feels alive. Matches spread across the world faster than any match before. Factories sprang up, making millions of matches every day. Ships carried boxes of matches to distant lands, from snowy mountains to tropical islands. In homes, matches lit stoves for cooking bread or boiling tea. In forests, explorers struck matches to start campfires under the stars. In factories, workers used matches to light machines that ran on fire. Matches became a small but important part of life, always there when someone needed light or warmth. Think of a cold morning in a faraway village. A woman opens a wooden box and takes out a safety match. She strikes it on the red strip, and a small flame appears. She lights her stove, and soon the room is warm, the smell of baking bread filling the air. Her children run in, laughing, warmed by the fire. This was the gift of safety matches. They were simple, safe, and reliable, bringing fire to everyone who needed it. Matches changed the world in quiet ways. They made it easier to light a fire, which meant people could cook, stay warm, and see in the dark without hours of effort. They helped explorers travel to new places, carrying fire in their pockets. They helped cities grow, lighting lamps and factories. They even brought people together, as families gathered around a hearth or a candle, sharing stories in the glow of a match's flame. From the flint sparks of ancient times to the fire inch sticks of China, from John Walker's friction lights to the safety matches of Sweden, the history of matches is a story of small steps, each one making life a little easier. Today, matches are still with us, though the world has new ways to make light, like electric bulbs and lighters. But there is something special about a match. The soft scratch, the sudden flame, the warm glow. It reminds us of a time when fire was a treasure and every spark was a small victory. The history of matches is a simple one, but it is also a story of human ingenuity, of people finding ways to bring light and warmth to the world, one spark at a time.